Business overhead insurance is very similar and usually has the same carrier as your personal disability insurance if you have that as well. And the answer is absolutely. And in fact, you're probably underinsured based on most of the clients that we see. Yes, it is an additional expense, but if you have just started out and if you don't have a nest egg able to support the practice, even if you can get other doctors to fill in for you, you still could use that $20,000 to $40,000 a month to pay, let's say, the prior month's bills that are coming in, such as your lab or even a payroll or two. And even then, business overhead usually doesn't even cover or even close to cover all of the expenses that you have in the business that you generate. So it is imperative that you have that. Let's take, for example, that you have a practice, you have a policy that is $10,000 a month, which is well underinsured, and you're so disabled to where you need to sell your practice, but you still have to find a buyer. And even if you find other doctors that come in there, these policies would typically pay for that at a certain period. But by the time you find a buyer for the practice, that could take 3 to 6 months before that thing actually closes. And by then you've incurred most of your overhead monthly expenses, not only the final expenses that you have for your debt service, for final items that are not part of the sale that you have to finish up and pay for. Those items alone make it necessary to have that policy. We had a client that was a partnership where the doctor was about 60 and the buyer who owns 50% of the practice is, right now he's about 36. And they both did not have enough insurance to cover the full practice overhead. And there was a scary moment when his mother had passed away while they were in Hawaii for his daughter's wedding. And while he was in Hawaii, his partner got very ill, was very close to possibly, he could have died given his medical condition, and they had to scramble to find replacement doctors to even come in. And think about that, when you don't have any doctors in that practice and no insurance to pay anybody and their cash flow was relatively weak, that practice could have fallen apart because they had to pay their team, they had other expenses they had to pay, and they had a full schedule of treatment they had to work on. And thankfully it worked out to where they were able to get a substitute doctor in there for about a week, and that was all before the other doctor was fortunately able to recover. But imagine that situation playing out in any variety for one doctor or two doctors, and the need to where you wish you had that insurance to fall back on, and how much money that monthly premium is worth to not have that heartburn that risk could possibly occur in your practice.